Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening. So, I came across a video and it's on YouTube, and you can click on it. And so, I put it up here and I'm presenting it to everyone. You see above, it says Vice News Tonight, HBO. Why women of color are trying to get out of the US, HBO, but they're not leaving the US. Now, it's only some women. It was a women's retreat. So I looked at the entire video, and they had a group of women of color who their premise was getting away for a vacay. And what they were doing was trying to take a break from white people. And so I'm going to go down and read some of the comments under this video because some of them I could understand where the comments were coming from. Okay, so the video is under Vice News, okay? And so maybe I'll try to see if I can leave a link, but it's entitled on YouTube and you can look at it. And the comments, some of the comments are hilarious, but I see where people's attitudes were coming from. Now, some of them were just straight up racist comments. And then again, what a lot of white people do is automatically, when it's something that has to do with Black people, complaining about the negative effects of what happens here in the US to them in the workplace or just in society in general, they become offended and then they become really defensive, and they will turn it around and say it's reverse racism. Now, I did have a problem with both sides. So I don't know if I can display some of the video because I don't know if it'll mess with the sound. So I'll try to see if I can do that right now. If it doesn't work out, I will record the video. But if it works out, I'm going to try to listen in and see did it work. But
it's happening right now. Yeah. Alexis Bromley is from Nebraska. She needed a break from white people.
In Omaha, it's very segregated. It can be very isolating if you're a person of color. It's hard in Nebraska because it's a red state. And so you just don't know who you interact with on a daily basis, if they believe that you're lesser, if you're inferior, and how that in turn can affect me.
She says the current political climate has only made these feelings worse. So she decided to go on a women of color healing retreat in Costa Rica.
Hi, such beautiful smiles. Thank you guys so much for coming. My Blackness is bold.
My Blackness is uninhibited.
My Blackness is strength.
The idea is simple. For 10 days, Black women come together to eat vegan food, meditate, do yoga.
The breath in is the reminder that we are safe.
And to discuss the frustrations of being Black in America.
It's like a mental game all the time. I'm in these spaces where, constantly getting poked and prodded. Oh, let me touch your hair. Oh, you're really pretty for a Black girl. Black people don't exercise. Black people don't hike. People are automatically going to have this perception of me before I even open my mouth.
So many people's ideology see us as people.
This retreat is one of more than a dozen Black-owned travel groups, marketing trips specifically to people who look like Alexis. In the few years that most of these companies have been open, more and more clients are calling them up. At least 5 say they've seen a spike in interest coinciding with Trump's election.
The idea of Black women reclaiming control over their own mind, body, and spirit is exactly what's needed to survive in a system that constantly tells us that our wellness isn't important. We stop taking care of ourselves because we were taught you don't matter.
The retreat is the brainchild of Andrea X, a former Brooklynite turned expat.
I left the United States because I was sick of gentrification, racism, just dealing with being this Black woman trying to figure it out there.
It was 2014, and she just lost her job as a healthcare facilitator. What started off as a vacation in Costa Rica became her entire new life. She used all of her personal savings to form this retreat.
we needed a safe space that was outside in the United States to hold certain conversations and just to heal. I don't think that we can do that in the United States. I think that we're suffering and suffocating and just dying every single day trying to survive there.
You know, not every woman can afford to go out to Costa Rica. What can we do for the racism they experience for women who can't afford to be part of your retreat?
I think that it's important for people in the United States, Black and POC people, to start forming their own spaces there.
Easier said than done. White Americans find themselves in white-only meetings and places all the time without even trying or noticing. When Black people want a break from feeling like a minority, they often have to make an effort. Alexis made the effort, and it cost her $2,222. But for her and several other women, that's a reasonable price to pay for a retreat that bans white people.
Would having white people on this trip ruin it?
Yeah, I don't think we would be as open and as honest as we are with the group that we're in now.
Do you all feel like you've been stereotyped?
One thing I always got is you're so well spoken, and I don't think people understand how insulting that is. What else would you expect from me?
I'm curious if it's been no different for you since
It was
the election of President Trump.
For Black, we knew that racism has been around, but it's a bit more in our face now. It's made me have to pivot my interactions with people and people who actually support Trump. Like, I can't trust you on friendship level, family level, any level if you actually are supporting someone that, is completely racist.
Is some of that anxiety what you feel you need to heal from here?
We're looking for ways to coping mechanisms, and ways to take care of ourselves because we're not on the agenda.
Okay, I hope that that didn't ruin this video that I'm doing here. So I'm back now. That kind of gives you a tidbit of what that video is about. And so I'm panning down here and I'm going to read some of the comments. Okay, this is a comment from someone. It says, "That lady is more racist than anyone I had ever met." Okay, I'm going to read to you the comments because I don't think people are full aware at what kind of comments some people will make here. Now, some had valid points that I could understand. Now, but there were others who were just blatantly, mean, and they were just really, really mean towards these women. And so, let's see here. Now, when I first initially saw the comments, there was one commenter that left okay, I'm looking now. Okay, so there was one commenter that left something stating, "Oh, you're having a women's retreat. There's no men. There's no men. That's why it's a women's retreat, idiot." That's my comment. It's a women's retreat. It's not a men retreat. Okay, now I'm going to read this. "This article is very unsettling to those of us who are not racist. I understand that within our DNA, before we have a conscious thought, our brains ask, do they look like me? Do they sound like me? But there are many of us who judge people on their actions and not their race. I treat all humans equal, and in my life, I have been wronged by far more Caucasians than anyone of color. Many blessings, SMR." And then there's more to read. "Vice News, this is an interesting article. I like to learn about what our world around us is doing." Okay, that's a comment. "Vice likes its own comment classic. Ignore the fake outage here. These people don't give a hoot about making peace with Afro-Americans." Okay. And then they wonder why. Okay, so somebody here, there was a guy, when I had read it earlier, he said, "Oh, that's why Black men are dating white women." That was mean. Um, then then I see here it says the person has their screen name is Trump's pubs or something, Trump something. It's a weird, crazy. In other words, they're a Trump supporter. And they say racist, CUNTS, racist cunts. Okay, so in other words, they're calling the black racist. Race only matters to the racist. Vice News reported this video for racism. That's somebody else's comment. I say we all ban vice from our lives. I think it would bring everyone together a lot more. That's somebody as mean as some of the other comments. Okay, now this person says that's racist. Okay, thank you, Vice, for this. I feel the same with why my sisters do, the same way my sisters do. So in other words, this person's agreeing with the video that they felt some of this, So I support that. I like that so much. Okay, so somebody's agreeing with the video here. So there's a lot of more comments. Okay, troll OV metal, joking, right? Okay, so somebody else's comment. So I think some comments were taken down earlier, or maybe more people have saw this. Maybe it's come across more eyes, and maybe there's a whole new slew of comments now. But I remember, okay, here's one. It says racist club of women of color. Okay. Space for Black people. I mean, now let's think about it here. When they have like certain clubs, cabinet members, mostly all of them are white. I think there's one woman involved, if I'm not mistaken. But for the most part, all of them are white. And there was at one time Omarosa, but she's gone now. We know kind of what happened with her. But there are a lot of places that white people meet as together, and they feel confident, and they talk about things that they seem to feel comfortable about sharing things with one another. And so I don't see anything wrong with these women having a retreat, a safe space. But I will say this. Now, some people did make some comments that were valid. They mentioned about Costa Rica and the culture that's there. And then they mentioned some other valid points. Now, if I could ever find those, so people, I will just paraphrase what they said. Okay, some people mentioned that, well, most of the people that are in Costa Rica, that they were white and Spaniards speaking. And then they said, oh, you guys are getting away from white people, but you're having, a retreat that costs $2,000 and it's expensive. And then on top of that, they're doing yoga, and then they're eating vegan food, and they're doing, in other words, like white centered activities, and then surfing. So somebody made that comment along the line, and I totally got that. I was like, they got a point there. I mean, it does kind of defeat the purpose of what they claim to be doing, is getting away from white culture. And so, to be honest, a lot of us have been colonized. We're used to being here in the US. So the things that we are accustomed to, we've been trained to do, or we're normally used to, is doing white culture, white-centered stuff. And so it's kind of hard to escape that entirely. There may be a lot of things that we disagree with, but like the one reporter was saying that, $2,000, there's some people that can't afford, that kind of money to get, go to a getaway like that. So I don't know why. You can leave your comment on what do you think about this, and then maybe you can watch the video for yourself and see. Now, I do think the meditation, going off, having a see now, if they had have said this is a woman's retreat for women of color, and hadn't have labeled it, we're getting away from white people, and had have just said it's a women's retreat for women of color, and we're just going to go out, and it's a girl thing, a ladies thing, we're going to have fun and relax away from the kids, away from the hustle and bustle of the city, and go to a remote island and just enjoy ourselves. That wouldn't have come off, negative. But I do understand the frustrations of what's going on here in the US, because that stuff is happening. They are right. There is a lot of things happening. There's a lot of things happening, ever since Donald Trump was elected in 2016. I've said it in some videos. People on the jobs have been treating, like if you hold down a 9 to 5, if you hold down a job, people are acting funny. There's some people at my job that honestly, they voted for Donald Trump, and they have been reacting every bit, negative in a negative sense towards certain individuals because of it. And it's like it's emboldened certain individuals. It's given them the license to be hateful, or to do things or say things and feel empowered. Oh, I can say stuff about this group because we have our president now. He's in control of things. He's getting rid of folks, and he's doing this and he's doing that. God bless our president, and all this kind of stuff. So there's a really negative sentiment going on here. So I'm kind of like in between with this here. I like the fact that they're getting away and they're trying to have a good time and all that, but I would get away if that was a personal thing. And so if they said we're getting away from the negativity of the city and the negativity of what we go through on a day, it came off as okay, I understand that. But the way some of them are saying might rub some folks the wrong way. But think about it, though. Now, I'm playing devil's advocate. If it was, let's say it was a group of white women, and they had a retreat, and they said, we're getting away from minorities. We're getting away from Black folks and from Hispanic people. We're not Hispanic whites. We are regular white people. We're the ones that, we are the regular white people, the original. If we're having a retreat because we're getting away and we voted for Trump, and we're getting away from people who didn't vote for Trump or who we think are against Trump, and we're tired of it. So I'm wondering how that would have came off. I'm just saying, I don't know. But, hey, the thing is I do understand, I really do. It is negative. It is negative. There are things. These women are right. These things are happening. It is true. Black people don't talk about Black concepts, problems, ideas, things that we enjoy talking about around white people. When we're around Black people and it's only Black people, we talk about the things we really are more open. Some of us are more open to speak about certain issues that we all feel like we can share amongst one another in a particular way. And so, but when white person is there, we don't feel as comfortable sharing some things, because everything you say, if it has to do with a race issue or with what we deal with on a daily, it comes off as being negative towards those other people that aren't Black or aren't of color, whatnot. And so I get that, where they're coming from there, because I'm Black, I'm a Black woman. So I get that, it's like, even at my job, it's like if more than one Black person gets together and we get in a circle and start talking, There's this one lady that always has to come in the middle of it and listen. And I think the reason why she does this is because number one, she doesn't like Black people. And I already know this because the way she said some things, and I've heard her say it, and I'm not going to really repeat all those things, but she said things when she gets around white people, when she gets around her white women friends, she talks about the Hispanics and the Blacks. She talks about Black people and talks about Hispanic people in a negative way. And so I'm knowing that she's not, she's really, she's not a genuine individual. She's just somebody at work, and she's using people, and she's fake and phony. And she has an issue with race. Clearly, I witnessed it in her, and she's not comfortable. I could see her now. I just know she's not, she's not a person that, really, really too much cares for Black people. I mean, she'll work with you, but she didn't, I've seen a picture of her family makeup, and there is nobody Black. I mean, she has no, I think she's one of those where, I'll work with you, but you're not gonna marry in my family. That kind of attitude. And so, it's difficult. This is difficult. I'm kind of caught in the middle of this, because I'm saying that this right here is like, I find it to be where I can understand it, and productive, somebody who's got 2 grand laying around to go to do this, so, and I mean, there's got to be other ways of doing this where it's not so costly, and yet you can find spaces, and you don't have to travel that far. And excuse me, I don't know, but I do understand some of the comments. Let me see if I can go down and find some more of those comments, because they were hilarious. Some of them were hilarious. Okay. Okay. I was looking because I was trying to find. Okay, here's a comment. I think it's kind of funny. America is one hell of a case study on sociology. Okay. Okay, now listen to this. Funny. So some of the stuff is the comments. Oh, okay. Somebody was reported for racism. I don't know if they just put that as a joke or what. They said was really racist, and they got reported on here. Okay, so I'm looking at something else. Okay, here's something. I'm looking here. 12% of the population commits over 51% of the violent crimes, and you should have a retreat about that. Okay. Stop blaming Trump for trying to unite the country around economic and civic values instead of pandering to race. You have to be joking. I'm just reading some of the comments. Now, I don't agree with that. I'm not saying to you that I agree with what these people are doing. Okay, RV Costa Rica is not a white country. Maybe Argentina. Okay, so some people said that Costa Rica isn't a white country. Racist club of women of color. That's what somebody left. a comment. Somebody said, Vice, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm half white and I'm allowed in your dumb F place. Racist much or something. Vice, you should be ashamed of yourself. Okay, so I guess the person's half white. They must be like a biracial, half black, half white. So, there's like, see, there's different people with different ideologies. And okay, I feel like white people shouldn't even have passports and should stay in the US. Fair point. Okay. I feel like black people shouldn't even have passports and should just stay in Africa. Racist. Okay. All right. So this is I guess they're trying to prove a point. I love the shit out of metal gymnastics on display in 2018 so far. Top-notch comedy. The alt-right, the alt-left everyone. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Yes, to celebrate your blackness, you take your US imperialist money into a third world country where the real estate is cheap and you appropriate Indian culture by stealing their yoga and charge an exorbitant of black women can afford, which is pure American capitalism. And the funny thing is, I bet good money that half the women there are married or date exclusively white guys. What bullshit. You couldn't find a black space in, okay, New York City. You couldn't find a black space in New York City. So some people are opposed to this in that sense, which I kind of get when these arguments are raised that here you got women here. These are probably women, they relatively are doing well economically, and they're probably at the top of their field career-wise, and they can afford this trip. Money is not a factor in it. It's just the fact that they've probably been met. Just because they have money and education doesn't mean they aren't met with racism, because they're, at the end of the day, they're still black women. Here, this venue as an outlet. And so I just thought this was interesting. I just pretty much put this out here for the mere fact that this whole thing, I thought it was relatively interesting to me. I will be honest, in my point of view, I get where some of the comments that the women were making and some of the things they've experienced, I've experienced myself. But I wouldn't spend $2,000 to go to Costa Rica for this kind of thing. Spending it like this, I feel like I could do the same thing right here, and I don't have to travel that far, to, I just think it may be an excuse just to say, okay, I got away, and so I spent this $2,000 to go to Costa Rica to get away from white people, but you're really not getting away from them, because somewhere along the line you're gonna run into them. They're there too. So I don't know the history of Costa Rica. Now I did hear somebody comment and say it isn't a white country. So I didn't read up on all the history of Costa Rica, of course, but there's a lot of comments here back and forth. Some are neutral, some are really mean. But what do you expect from social media? And here's one that's really, really evil. Um, yeah, I feel it's evil. So it's to me, I think it's indicative of saying that it's almost like they're uh, giving homage to Hitler. So the comic reads, it says, "Stay out, 2316 Hail Victory." So it sounds like a Hitler thing. That's the way it sounds to me. Um, okay, so now here's a white guy. He's saying, these people are appropriating my culture by practicing yoga and saying namaste. Is that not microaggression? So yeah, he had a bunch of people that gave him thumbs up for his comment. Because, I will say this every time black women or black men or people of color or black people complain or they start to voice their concerns, white people always have to have a comeback. They never want to really hear what the problems are from black people. They know what's going on. It's not like they don't know. They always try to mask. They always try to take something, a slogan like Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter. You're appropriating black culture. No, you're appropriating my culture, my white culture. They always try to take a slogan you have and then put their label on it, just like the braids. They're cornrows, and they clearly, you can see that is a hairstyle that came from black women in Africa. That particular style of braiding. But no, they are calling it boxer braids. Go figure. It's like they got to put their label on it. Like stealing people, they're like the masters of stealing stuff. They always say black people are stealing things, but they steal a lot of stuff too. And here, what does it say on this article right here? I hope more people like this do leave. Don't let them back. That was pretty mean. And I'm not saying finally black women understand how I feel about black people. Okay. Now, I don't know who this is. This person, I'm taking it that, okay, now that this person is kind of in between too, because now they're saying something different right here. I notice how quick white people are to call other races out on their racism, but have the hardest time of acknowledging their own racism in their community. I'm not in any way defending racism against white people. I'm just saying before you call or try to call out another race for being racist, you need to check your own. Now that I can agree with for sure. I called Africa and you can go there, but you won't like it. Imagine you could build Wakanda for reals. You dig? So I think somebody said that to be mean, mocking the situation. Okay, now this right here, this is like a question somebody's asking, but it might be sarcastic. Does this mean that multiculturalism doesn't work? So he's got a gang of replies under there, and he's got a few likes. And so I just thought that this article was interesting. Well, it actually isn't an article, it's a video. So it's a lot different. So I don't know if this came out right or not. So I'm going to listen to it myself to see how it came out. But I just found this whole thing intriguing. I guess I was up really late and I saw the title and I said, white women of color leaving the US? I'm like, I'm not leaving. So I was trying to find it, with all that's going on right now, I wanted to hear what they were talking about. And so then it went into more detail of what this whole video was about. And then I was like, oh, okay, I get it. So I will say this in closing of this video. I understand where these women are coming from, and I understand a lot of the things they're talking about. But I'm not saying that it's bad what they're doing. I think it's good to get out and to kind of escape the city and the hustle and bustle of the workplace and some of the stressors that we people, and people of color women of color deal with this type of stuff. They do. I deal with it like every Monday through Friday. If it's not a holiday or something, I've dealt with a lot of similar issues, where people, like the one lady, she was describing how people poke and prod on her hair. That I've dealt with. Oh, you're a pretty girl. Oh, I like your hair and all that, like you're a toy or something. Then like how some people will, they ask you about your language, oh, you speak very well. You write very well. Like they're amazed that a Black person can actually write and read and can speak, speak intelligently, so those things are insulting when people act like they're shocked that you can do that. It's like, duh, I did have an incident happen to me one time where this woman, I was attending this church function, which I no longer go there anymore, or at least not like I used to. This woman, I know they had a service where they were acknowledging everybody who had finished or completed, a certain number of years of college. And during that time, I think I was finishing my last year and I had received a bachelor's. And so, even after that all had been done, I guess people didn't believe, certain individuals didn't believe like that we could be educated, and we as in women of color or Black folks could get educated and actually receive, an actual degree. They're always used to seeing it being somebody that isn't Black that attends college and that, is successful and finishes and actually completes, a place of, academia. So when I finally finished and everybody was doing this little ceremony, and I know a couple of months went by, and this one lady, she kept asking me, she said, did you finish? Did you finish? It was almost like she didn't believe it. And I said, yeah. I'm like, what do I got to do? Like walk around with my certificates or degrees? I mean, do I got to walk around with that stuff? And I'm not saying this to brag or anything, but there are people that really believe that stuff, that, they think that Black people are stupid. So let me say this to say, before I end this one. There are some Black people that are on YouTube that are saying a lot of mean stuff about Black people who have actually finished school. You should stop it, because there are people who don't expect us to succeed and finish school. So for the ones that do, you should be looking at it as opening doors. Be accomplished. You don't look at it as, oh, it's competition. This person thinks they're better than me. No, this is more. See, that's the problems we have within ourselves, is this insecurity level that people have, where when they see women who are successful and have actually completed something in their life, it's not to say that this person is better than the other. Now, maybe some people every individual is different. There are people, I'm not saying that there aren't people that go around using that as, to try to, make other people feel insecure about, what they know or don't know. But everybody is different. So I finished, great. Some people are using their degrees to their advantage and they're using it for their career paths. And then there's some that don't, or there's some that they're in a totally different field than what they went to school for. And some fields will require you just to have a specific, college units. They don't have a specific title to what it is that you have to go to school for. They just want to know that you're a person that is has stability, and that you're able to be teachable, and that you're You're flexible because, going to school is not easy because you have to apply, you have to sit in class, you have to be disciplined, you have to study, you have to set aside time, you have to put in hours to study material, you have to read, you have to actually sit and listen through lectures. You might have to go to night school and be up late at night studying for exams. That's not easy. Everybody can't do that. Some people can. And so, for those that are able to do that, you shouldn't make fun of them or put them down because this one was able to do it and this one, maybe they just couldn't, you know. Um, so some of these women, from where I hear them, they sound educated. They sound like they are fluent and they're able to afford a trip like this. And even if they aren't, maybe they, everybody's situation is different. And so, you know, I'm able to afford a trip like that, but I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. That's just me. I'm different. I can find another safe space to be. I prefer actually being away from folks because I find sometimes even people of color can be difficult to deal with. I'm not just saying white people, I find most people, has issues, So I'm just saying. But anyway, I want to see how this thing turned out because I've never tried it where you can actually hear the video inside the video. So if it didn't go through, I'll try it again. But if it did, then well, thank you for listening. But I thought this was interesting because it just sheds some light that, it makes it real evident that everybody is feeling what's going on. But I don't know that I would go to this extreme right here, not to this point, you know. Now, I think the lady did later in the video, if you really watch the video, I'll tell you this, she mentioned something about building a community. Now, that's a whole nother topic right there. Now, I think she might be on to something. There may be more to this video than what people know. It may not be what they're thinking. This lady might have something going on, a business venture where she's trying to build a community for African American people or people of color to actually reside and thrive. Because later in the video, she did mention that. And so maybe she's on to something. So I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater on the issue, or the whole issue alone. But if you want to take a look at the video, it's entitled Why Women of Color Are Trying to Get Out of the U.S. It strikes you as odd when you see that, but there's a lot more to this video than just that. It's not people just escaping the U.S. It's just some women that are going on retreats. So maybe there may be some women who do want to leave or have dual citizenship. I don't know if that's possible, but I ain't one of them. I hate to say that. But with all these little things like this, there's always an agenda, a hidden agenda. So I would just say beware. Even people that look like you never know what the whole thing is entailed, what the whole thing entails. But anyway, thanks for listening. Okay, bye.